I want to thank my colleague Sarah for standing in on Friday. She did a great job. I missed you all tremendously. Now that I've realized that we can do that a little more, I'll spend a little more time at the Pentagon. Move this up a little bit. I appreciate your flexibility today so that the pool has enough time to cover the Vice President and Secretary Shulkin as they welcome Honor Flight veterans to Washington on the anniversary of VE Day. The Vice President is hosting more than 120 veterans of World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War as part of National Military Appreciation Month and Public Service Recognition Week, highlighting the Trump administration's commitment to our military and public service. Also today, the Vice President, Secretary Price, Secretary Shulkin all attended an event on the scientific opportunities of biomedicine. Key leaders from government, the private sector, and academia discussed the United States' comprehensive biomedical landscape and further educated White House staff, including assistants to the President Ivanka Trump and Reed Cordish, on this important topic. The meeting was organized by the National Institutes of Health and was led by its director, Dr. Francis Collins. Leaders in the medical education and research joined executives from companies who invest in biotech to provide analysis and real-life examples of how America's sustained leadership in the biomedical industry has resulted in immeasurable benefits to both our country's economic and physical well-being. Among the participants were Bill Ford, the CEO of General Atlantic, Dr. Craig Thompson, the president of Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, Dr. Cornelia Bargmann, the president of science at the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, Dr. Mark Tessier Levine, president of Stanford University, and Dr. Rick Lifton, the president of Rockefeller University. The United States currently sits atop the list of global investors in innovation in the life sciences, responsible for 44% of global research and development. This investment is dependent on the NIH and the important research it funds. In order to maintain our international leadership in biomedicine, we must strengthen the partnerships between government agencies, investors, academics, the biopharma industry, and research foundations. This meeting was an important step in reinforcing that essential cooperation. Moving on, I'm pleased to announce that today, shortly after this briefing, we will release a list of the President's third wave of federal court nominees. These 10 individuals that the President has chosen were chosen for their deep knowledge of the law and their commitment to upholding constitutional principles. 2 of the nominees today came from the list of potential Supreme Court nominees that the President released during the campaign. If confirmed, Justice Joan Larson will be a Circuit Court judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit. Justice Larson is currently serving on the Michigan Supreme Court. And Justice David Straz will be a Circuit Court judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. He currently serves as a justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. The campaign list was put together from input from the Heritage Foundation as well as the Federalist Society. And as the President said last September when it was released, these, quote, highly respected people are the kind of scholars that we need to preserve the very core of our country and make it greater than ever before, end quote. The President followed the principles that were used to guide that list to select the additional 8 individuals. And as I mentioned, the full list should be out very shortly. In terms of the President's schedule for today, this morning he met with his National Security Advisor, General McMaster. He also spoke with the French President-elect to congratulate him on his victory. A readout of that call should be out very shortly. The Prime Minister of Georgia was also at the White House meeting with the Vice President. The Prime Minister then dropped by with the Vice President into the Oval Office to greet the President. And earlier this afternoon, the President had lunch with the Vice President. In about an hour, he'll meet with Secretary of State Tillerson. Secretary Tillerson has also been meeting with several foreign leaders today at the State Department, including the Prime Minister of Montenegro, the Foreign Minister of Slovakia, and the Foreign Minister of Qatar. Secretary Mattis is also meeting with many foreign leaders during his European trip this week to reaffirm key United States military alliances. The Secretary is in Denmark to co-host a meeting with the Danish Minister of Defense with senior leaders from 15 countries that are key contributors to the de-ISIS military campaign. While in Copenhagen, Secretary Mattis will also meet separately with the Minister of Defense to discuss European security and the importance of the NATO alliance, and with the Danish Prime Minister to reaffirm the close ties between Denmark and the United States. In other cabinet news, Secretary Zinke is in Utah today, continuing his 4-day listening tour on the Bears Ears National Monument and Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, putting into action President Trump's April 27th executive order to review these monuments. Secretary Zinke will be accompanied by the governor and member of Utah's congressional delegation and local stakeholders for a morning aerial tour of the million-plus-acre monument and an afternoon hiking tour and a roundtable meeting this evening with Friends of Cedar Mesa Museum. While in Utah, the Secretary and other officials are holding daily press briefings on the ground. You can reach out to the Interior Department for more details. And with that, I'd be glad to take a few questions. Kristen.